class 12, how are you all? This is your DJ ma'am again. In the last video, we tried to understand the growth of population and the terms related to growth of population like natural increase of population, positive growth of population, negative growth of population, and also we understood that what are the components which are leading to change in population. Now let us understand the trend in population growth. So today's topic is trends in population growth. The population of the world currently is more than 7 million. According to the data of 2020, if we say the exact population of the world, it is 7.8 million. Now the question is that how the population increased. The population grew to its size over centuries. In the early period, when actually there was civilization, the civilization started, the population was growing, or the population was increasing very slowly. So the growth of population was slow. It is only during the last few hundred years that the population started expanding rapidly. Now let us understand this trend in population with the help of a diagram. Years before present. Now let us understand. Now between 8,000, 12,000 years before present, the population was 8 million. That means we can say that this is the time, the 8,000 years, this is the time when the glaciation ended, and within this time there is development in agriculture. And spread of agriculture took place. Three important food grains, wheat, barley and rice. This cultivation and production of these three important food grains increased. So this is a phase when it led to development of agriculture. In the 1st century AD, the population was less than 300 million. Within 1600 to 1700 century, we will see the population has increased to 500 million. Now this is the period, this is the starting period where exploration, colonization started. So we can say this is a period of exploration and colonization. Also this is the period from 1600 to 1700 where we will see that in 1730 industrial revolution began. With industrial revolution, steam engine was introduced. Now, with the coming up of steam engine and industrial revolution, now this industrial revolution replaced the work of the people, the work of the animals, and now production can be done at a very faster rate. So this is the time when we can see that the production started increasing and the people started migrating from the countryside to the towns due to employment opportunities. Also, due to increase in production, due to increase in agricultural production, there we will see that the number of people started increasing. In 1750, the population increased from 500 million, that is 16th to 17th century, to 550 million. So you can say this is a phase of industrial revolution, steam engine, century. After industrial revolution, we can see the period of post-industrialization. Here we will see population increase rapidly. We can see the period of population explosion. Now we will talk about the 20th century and the 21st century, that is the latest. Now what is happening now? Here, with industrial revolution, with colonization, we can see that it led to increase in and development of transport. So transportation network developed, and expansion of railways for movement of goods from one place to another. Like as we know that the Britishers started expanding the transportation, the railways especially, so that they can carry the large chunks of oak trees for their for construction of ships, which for construction of ships, and also for as we know that large number of trees were cut down. There was a huge deforestation which was taking place due to this expansion of railways. We can also see that medical facilities developed. Information technology developed, coming up of computers, sanitation improved, biotechnology was introduced. Now there was inoculation against epidemics and many communicable diseases, because now we have vaccine. Our medical facilities improved. Sanitation improved. So it helped in the reduction of our death rate. But in most of the countries, especially the developing countries, still you will see the birth rate is increasing, but the death rate somewhere is reducing because of this medical facilities and sanitation, improved sanitation and vaccination against many diseases. Now let us understand that how the population increased by billion with another diagram. Sanitation, medical facilities, IT, computers, biotechnology. Well, as I said that the population exploded in the period of 18th century. So let us start to understand how the population expanded and how the population increased by 1 billion and how much time it took to increase by 1 billion. So in 1804, the world reached its first billion. That means the population of the world was 1 billion. You can see here that from 1750s to 1845, you will see that in 1750s the population was 550 million, and in 1804 the population exploded and became 1 billion. In 1927, the population increased from 1 billion to 2 billion. That means 1 billion is added to the population. How many years it took to increase from 1 to 2 billion? It took 123 years. Now in 1960, the population became 3 billion. So it took 33 years to reach from 2 to 3 billion. In 1974, the population became 4 billion. It took around 14 years to reach 4 billion. In 1987, the world population reached 5 billion. So it took 13 years to become 5 billion. So we can say that from 1950, this is my 1950 roundabout. So 1950, the population was around 2.5 billion. And in 1987, the population doubled up to 5 billion. So it is the fastest time that a country took or the world took to double its population. We will understand what is doubling of population in the next topic. Now in 1999, the population of the world is 6 billion. It took 12 years to increase from 5 billion to 6 billion. 2011, the population was 7 billion. It took again 12 years to reach 7 billion. Now if you will see the current population, that is of 2020, the current population is 7.8 billion. It is estimated that by 2023, the world population will reach to 8 billion. So we can well understand that how the population started increasing from 1804 to 2020, that is till death, and from 1950 to 1987, this is the time, the fastest time when the population actually doubled from 2.5 billion to 5 billion. Now let us understand what is doubling of population. Now let us understand what is doubling of population. The population of the world reached 1 billion and it took 1 million years to reach that 1 billion mark. But as we have understood in the previous diagram that it only took 12 years to reach 6 billion from 5 billion. So we can say that how rapid the population is increasing, but this increase in population or the growth in population is not same everywhere. Now what is doubling of population? Doubling of population means the time taken by any population to double its size and value. It is very important to study population growth. Now, this doubling of population can be easily calculated on the basis of or following a rule, that is Rule 70. How we can calculate that how much time a country will take to double its population? 70 divided by growth rate in percentage of any country. For example, if we take the growth rate of our country India according to the 2020 data, then our growth rate is 0.99. So 70 divided by 0.99, it will come around 70.7. So it will take 70 years for our country India to double its population. Now, let us understand with the help of a data. Period. Population. And the time taken to double. BC. Population was 5 million. 1650 AD. The population reached to 500 million in only 1500 years. In 1804 AD, the population reached to 1000 million in only 154 years. In 1927 AD, the population reached to 2000 million. That means you can see the population is actually doubling up in 123 years. In 1974 AD, the population doubled to 4000 million in only 47 years. In 2023, the population will double and will become 8 million in just 49 years. In 2057, the population will become 10 billion in just 34 years. That means from 5 billion to 10 billion, there is a population from 5 billion to reach 10 billion. It took only 70 years to double up. Now, this doubling of population, so we can see that how the doubling of population is reducing. That means it is taking on less years to double its population. Now, this doubling of population is not same in the developed and the developing countries. As we will see in the developed countries, like for Europe, it will take more than 100 years to double its population. In case of, suppose, USA, it will take 134 years to double its population. So these are the developed countries which will take much lesser time, much more time to double its population compared to the developing countries. For example, Afghanistan, it will take 31 years to develop or to double up its population. They like Latvia, it will take only 23 years to double up its population. population. So what is the reason that the developing countries are doubling up their population much faster compared to the developed countries? Because in developing countries, it mostly we will see that either they have a past of colonialism. Most of the times we will see that it is a male dominated society where the status of women is very poor. Illiteracy is a major factor. They don't have proper education level, so they don't have proper idea about family planning. Contraceptives are not easily available to them. The childbirth means the death rate and crude birth rate is quite high in those countries. Maybe that the death rate is reducing because of medical facilities, but the birth rate is quite high because they are not educators, so they are not concerned about the family planning program. So these are the reasons which are leading to different doubling time between the developed countries and the developing countries. Now let us understand the spatial distribution of population. Let us understand the spatial pattern of population change. Now, what is spatial pattern of population change? It means that how the population is distributed over the surface of the earth. We will see that the growth of population is quite low in terms of developed countries compared to the developing countries. We can notice that there is a negative correlation between the economic development and the population growth. That means in the countries where the population is growing, it is leading to certain economic problems. As we can understand that the demand for food increase, the necessity for employment opportunities increase, but as the population is increasing at a very faster rate, so people are not getting adequate food. So there are many countries where most of the people are living under the poverty, that is they are below poverty, they are belonging from below poverty line. So we can conclude there is a negative correlation between economic development and population growth. Now let us understand a data that is already given in your NCERT, how the growth of population is changing. Now let's understand first the growth of population of the world. In 1950, the growth of population of the world was 1.6. In 2010 to 2015 is 1.2. In 2017 it's 1.12. 2018 1.10. 2019 1.08. 2020 1.05. So we can see that in the world the growth of population, or the rate at which the population is growing, is diminishing. It's somewhere reducing. First 1.6, then 1.2, then again it increased to 1.12, 1.10, now 1.8, and now 1.5. Now in terms of Africa, in 1950 was having a growth rate of 2.4%. In 2010 to 15, the growth rate increased to 2.6, and in 2010 it is again 2.4. In Europe, see, there's 0.2, which reduced to 0.1 in 2010 to 15, and in 2020 it got a 0.0% growth rate of population. In North America, it was in 1950 1.4, which changed to 0.8 in 2010 to 15, and in 2020 it is 0.6. In Latin America, 2050 it was 1.7, which reduced to 1.1, and in 2000 it is 0.9. In Asia, it was 1.6 in 2010, it was 1.0, and now it is 0.86. In Australia, it was 1.5 in 2010 to 15, again it was 1.5. Now it has reduced to 1.18. So we can notice here that the developing countries, in case of developing countries, mostly we will see that the growth rate is actually declining. So there is negative growth rate. Like in Europe, there is negative growth rate, 0.2, 0.1, 0.0. In Latin America, so by 2100, that is 2100 years, we can say that somewhere the population will go on declining, and it will have a negative growth of population. Whereas in the developing nations, especially see in Africa, the growth rate is somewhere increasing. It is not reducing. Now, what happens? You may ask that, well, the growth rate is actually reducing, like in terms of wall, the growth rate is reducing, but still the population is increasing. Why that so? Maybe the growth rate is low, like it is 1.05 now, right? The annual growth rate of the world is 1.4. Now it is 1.1. Still, the population is increasing. Why? Because already in a country where the population is huge, that means the base is heavy. This is a country where already we can see there is a large number of people residing. So if in very small amount the population is added, it will lead to increase in the population at a very larger rate, because already the base is high, the base is already full. So when it may be that the growth rate of population is reducing, but still overall the population is increasing. Also, we will notice that in the developing countries, why the growth rate of population is not reducing, because here maybe the medical facilities has improved and the infant mortality rate somewhere has decreased, but it has led to more birth rate, because as more number of children are less number of children are dying, or the birth rate has reduced. So what they are doing, they are actually it is leading to more birth rate. So more number of children, that is infant, they are getting birth. So it is leading to expansion of population mostly in the developing countries compared to the developed countries. So in small annual rate is applied to a large population, it will lead to increase in population is in large amount. Maybe that the growth rate is declining, but still the population will go on increasing each year. Maybe that the death rate, that is infant mortality rate, has increased. That is during the childbirth, the child is dying, maybe because of the mother, the childbearing age of the mother is not the right time, or there may be many other reasons, but it will also lead to increase in birth rate. That means more number of children will die. The people will try to give birth to more number of children. So maybe that the growth rate is declining, but still the population is increasing or growing every year. So today what we try to understand, we understood about the trend in population change, how the population is increasing, doubling time of population, and this pattern of population. I hope so all of you understood. If you like my video, don't forget to give a thumbs up. Do like and do share so that it can help many other students. Thank you, and don't forget to subscribe.